Thank you. Okay, thank you guys for coming. So today is lecture number 6. So it's section 2 of part 2 about creating the model for ocean hobby industry base. So before we actually get into the specific topic, first let's do a quick review about, first of all, the topic of how this divided world will be united in the end. So the way in the completed testament age, True Father says, how is unity achieved? How shall I achieve unity? Through what? Through brute force, power, money, authority, or knowledge? Everything can be resolved only at a place based on love. This is the fastest way to bring people and nations together. I am always thinking how this can be done, and that is why I am making a foundation on the ocean. When we make this foundation, our direction toward the future will be straight. So True Father is basically saying that in order to achieve unity, we can't use things like brute force, power, money, or authority, right? What we have to do is use love. So Ocean Providence or basically this idea of living for the sake of others, centered on love. So Ocean Providence was basically, this practical method, and it was a way to live for the sake of others, to really live love, right? So as a method of unity. So through Ocean Providence, our direction would be straight, and it would have been the fastest way to bring people and nations together. And it would have brought us to a world of peace where there's no division, no starvation, and no inequality. So as we've been mentioning throughout the whole series, right, in the past, right, we cannot make appropriate decisions without first understanding True Parent's purpose, plan, and current situation. But before moving forward, we need to understand the why. So the purpose becomes clear by first knowing the motivation and the heart of true parents, and by understanding the hunger problem that they were trying to resolve, right? We talked about in the past how true parents who love all the people in the world suffer because of the hunger problem, right? They suffer as their children suffer. So we have to understand their heart of suffering and also their motivation for saving those people who are hungry. Then we have to understand the actual plan that True Father was planning to do, right? And that can be understood by analyzing True Father's words and his actions and where he had invested in throughout his life. And the current situation also needs to be understood, right? We also need to understand where we are now so that we can move forward in the right direction. So the current situation can be understood by knowing the history and through analyzing how far the plan has come so far and where it has failed. Only after that does it become clear what we must do right now and what action steps we can make right now. So basically, as I mentioned before briefly, right, Ocean Church was this method to live for the local city, local communities, and Ocean Church was meant to be expanded throughout the whole world. And Ocean Providence as a whole was basically this global level method to live for the nation and the world through things like the resolution to the global food issue. And Ocean Church was basically this path to contribute throughout. So Ocean Church was that, smaller path, or it wasn't a smaller path, but it was this path to contribute on a smaller scale to the local town, to the local region social issues, while Ocean Providence was this path to contribute on a large scale to the national and global level social issues. So it's basically this whole thing, this whole Ocean Providence, Ocean Church, they're all, it's a path to unite by living for the sake of others, centered on love, centered on God. And in part 2, section 1, which was the episode where we talked about, what Ocean Church and why we are supposed to train on the ocean, we looked exclusively at True Father's words and figuring out, the theoretical ideal form and functions of Ocean Church, right? His expectations and what he was expecting, what he wanted Ocean Church to look like, ideally. Now, this concept of Ocean Church is really revolutionary, right? We talked about how it's to use boats to fulfill the functions of social contribution, business, as well as mission. And True Father meant for this model to be globalized as the center of Ocean Providence movement throughout the whole world. Over, hundreds of ocean churches, he wanted that to happen. So the leaders of the new era who were trained in Ocean Church at the time in the past were to globalize Ocean Church and fishery businesses and ocean hobby tourism industry in order to solve the hunger issue. So above, right, what we've talked about now is one part of the grand plan that is Ocean Providence. So the last episode, right, which was 2 weeks ago, part 2, section 2, which was part 1, right, we had taken a look at the brief history of Ocean Church and its past, what actually happened in Ocean Church, and what True Father had felt as the decades went by, including his lamentations. So these are important points to review in, knowing the current situation that we're in right now. So today we will be talking about part 2 of section 2. So it's going to be a direct continuation of last sessions. So last time we had talked about what happened with Ocean Church, right? The history of Ocean Church. And we had also talked about the setbacks of Ocean Church and True Father's lamentation about those setbacks. So today what we're going to be talking about is what was it like? What was, the one implementation of Ocean Church that had been left in the 1990s, which was the New Jersey Ocean Church in Liberty Harbor Marina. How did that actually look like? And we'll also be talking about the culmination of Ocean Church, which is to establish the ocean hobby industry base. And we'll be talking about what exactly that ocean hobby industry base is. So now we're going to be taking a look at specifically just one Ocean Church branch that True Father had actually directly supervised, located at Liberty Harbor Marina in Jersey City, New Jersey. So this was the implementation of the Ocean Church concept at Liberty Harbor Marina. So what was it like, right? What was this Ocean Church branch in New Jersey City? What did it look like? So in the history of Ocean Church throughout the United States, right, one major branch that had been left, that had persisted to the end, in the end, right, which was located at Liberty Harbor Marina in Jersey City. As this particular branch was located within, 1 hour's drive from East Garden, where True parents often stayed, right, when they were on the East Coast, True Father often went fishing from there to New York Bay, right? And I think at some point, True Father even said that he went fishing at Liberty Harbor Marina, the most out of all the other places, if I'm not mistaken. Now, in the last section, we clarified the theoretical definition of Ocean Church, right? What True Father's expectation for it to look like was, right? As a church integrating the 3 functions of social contribution, business, and mission. But now we're going to take a look at an actual example that had been able to do to fulfill this. So as you can see, this is a picture. This is a map of where Liberty Harbor Marina, the boatyard, was in correlation to the East Garden Museum. So the Ocean Church in New Jersey was located around 50 kilometers from True Parents' New York residence in East Garden. So it's located across the Hudson River from Manhattan, where the Statue of Liberty could be seen. And actually, just for some context, right, Jersey City had actually had a very high crime rate back in the 90s, when Ocean Church had still been growing, during that time in Jersey City. In the 90s, Jersey City was one of the least safest cities in the United States. And the chart on the left shows that, right? It shows how many violent crimes, homicides, rapes, robberies, violent assaults, et cetera, occurred per 100,000 citizens in Jersey City. So, for example, in 1994, there were 4 or more violent crimes for every 100 citizens. So that would mean every 100 person you met there, 4 out of those 100 people would have been condemned to 4 crimes. Would have been condemned to some violent crime. So crime, has gone down now. But in the 1990s, when the Ocean Church had been there, had been growing, had been developing, the city was known as one of the worst cities in the United States. And even in 2019, there was, a hate crime against Jews in which 6 people, including a police officer, was shot dead in Jersey City, right? So, Jersey City wasn't a great place, yet True Father chose it, True Father supervised it, and he really supported and went there often to support Ocean Church activities. So this is a photo of the whole Liberty Harbor Marina in Jersey City, New Jersey. So you can see where the boat factory was, where the Ocean Church and different related businesses were. There was even a seafood restaurant, right? And you can see the Manhattan in the background with the Hudson River, right? This is a more detailed show, right, with the docks, boat sales office, Ocean Church office, all these different businesses, right? Like the boat repair shop. There was even a maritime school. And we're going to be talking about all of these things that are shown on this picture. So as you can see in those photos, right, New Jersey Ocean Church had a lot of businesses, right, such as restaurants, tackle shops, fish sales, boat repair shops, boat tours, and many others centered on Ocean Church. And there was also a maritime vocational school for the city's youths. So it was basically a collection of business. So the whole Liberty Harbor Marina was basically a collection of businesses and activities in the fields of fisheries, education, hobby, and tourism. And in the previous episodes, we had defined Ocean Church as this church that integrated the functions of social contribution, business, and mission. So it wasn't a church that just, did those spiritual activities of like witnessing, doing service. It was also doing, it was actually socially contributing and also doing business as well as mission. So first, let's take a look at the business aspect of this particular branch. So as you can see, right, there were many projects that were being carried out by the Ocean Church members at the time. Many, like boat manufacturing, boat repair, tackle, right, marine supply, etc. So now I'm going to be showing a lot of photos about the Ocean Church back then, right? So this photo shows True Father inspecting the Liberty Harbor Marina. And you can see at the time even, there wasn't even a paved road at the time. It was this dirty, very dangerous city, but True Father would go there all the time. And he was really invested in it. There was also boat development and manufacturing in the 90s that was done in Liberty Harbor Marina. After One Hope, right, almost all the boats that had been developed after that had been in Liberty Harbor Marina. So you can see, the smaller versions of the Good Go, right? Those were all, many of them were built at Liberty Harbor Marina and developed there. This is True Father giving direct instructions on the development of the smaller boats at Liberty Harbor Marina. Right? He would often go down there, I think almost every day whenever he was in the area, to really oversee directly the building and the development of these boats and these activities. This is True Father continuing to give instructions on the development. This is about the new hull shape at Liberty Harbor Marina. This is some more photos of True Father inspecting the boats, the design. This is True Father giving instructions for the first ever cabin boat that had been developed there. And this is technicians developing a new hull at Liberty Harbor Marina. This is True Father confirming the completion of the new cabin boat developed there, together with Korean and Japanese leadership. There were also, along with, this boat manufacturing and development, the seafood, there were a lot of seafood restaurants there, right? There was a seafood restaurant that had contributed a lot to Ocean Church, both economically and environmentally. Right, these are the locals in that area that would come visit. Many times people, when there's a new restaurant, people are attracted to that, right? So naturally, people came to see, what's going on, what's it about? So they would actually come visit this restaurant and, learn about Ocean Church. This is a photo of a sushi chef. This is some tuna. Yeah, so I want to talk about, the restaurants, right? It was actually a very important and vital aspect of Ocean Church, of the Liberty Harbor Marina, because Ocean Church's foundation was really built through the restaurant, right? True Father explains in God's Will in the Ocean, some members are now in the process of creating Japanese restaurants. You may think that restaurant business is just a small thing, but it has many implications. First, it is a business where many customers come in and out. You can reach out to these people. You can talk to them and make good relationships. You can serve them and display the real spirit of service. We are religious people, and we also have to work in this world. For this reason, the restaurant is an excellent type of business for us to be involved in. So True Father, gave the instructions to run restaurant businesses to build this foundation for Ocean Providence. And Ocean Church had been able to really connect to the many people that it had in the community through the restaurant, right? Through this act of, giving food, this act of community, this act of being able to actually talk to them, right? And it also generated funds economically for its activities as well. So, right. So next we'll be looking at New Jersey Ocean Church from a social contribution aspect, right? And how the restaurants and the boats were the best ways to help with social contribution and to connect with the Jersey City community. So True Father, right, gave many instructions directly to members of Liberty Harbor Marina, Ocean Church, and the business leaders. This is a photo of True Father speaking to the members at the time. He would just gather the members around in that area and just speak to them there. This is when the Master Marine Tackle and Bait shop had been opened, and you can see in this photo how happy he is at its development, right, at its establishment, right. At the time, I think the Master Marine Tackle and Bait had actually been one of, if not the best, tackle shops in that area in Jersey City. These are some photos of True Father and some of the members taking a look at the inside. This is True Mother and True Father. This is True Father with a lot of the members. This is them introducing it to, some of the guests, some of the Christian ministers. True Father also, many times brought Korean and Japanese leaders, to Liberty Harbor Marina and educated them through fishing many, many times. And you can see True Father, he went fishing almost every day. And when he was in that area, he always went there to Liberty Harbor Marina to go fishing. That's a photo of True Mother seeing him off. You can see how many people he brought with him on even just one boat, right? He really invested in bringing leaders and members out fishing a lot. Now, this is a photo of, research being done on fish farming, which wasn't in Liberty Harbor Marina, but it was also a part of Ocean Church's activities with regards to the industry. So why did Ocean Church conduct so many business activities, right? True Father explains, my purpose of doing business and making money is to perform the role of bonding all the people of the world, whether rich or poor. My financial foundation is for sharing technology with those in poverty for the liberation of all humankind. This is the equalization that I am trying to realize. So basically, True Father was creating this financial foundation of business, right? Not just for the purpose of making money, right? It was to make money so that he could use that money and that foundation, that economic foundation, and use it to help the poor people and to share the technology that was developed in order to achieve equalization that he was trying to realize. Right? As seen on the right, the reason for doing business is not to maintain or expand the organization. That was not the main goal, but ultimately it was to help all the poverty-stricken people of the world. And business was basically essentially for social contribution. So the New Jersey Ocean Church, built this economic base for its businesses, and through those businesses contributed to the local community, and at the same time while conducting outreach activities, thereby furthering expanding its activities. So let's take a look, right? there were many social contributions and outreach and educational activities that New Jersey Ocean Church had done in the past, right? They actively contributed to the local community and carried out outreach work at the same time. So there were many things, right? Ministers and laymen's fishing club, right? Fishing tournaments, ocean festivals, maritime vocational schools, ocean leadership training. I could talk really short about them, but Ministers and Laymen's Fishing Club was, this fishing club for Christian ministers and pastors and their congregation. And a lot of the church, Christian churches brought their family, brought their children out fishing together, right? There were fishing tournaments for both the general public and for the members to really teach one another about, fishing, to train and also teach the importance of Ocean Providence. There were ocean festivals, which, included like cleaning up the marina, right? Inviting community leaders such as the mayors and local pastors, and teaching and, expanding this knowledge about the ocean and this cause that Ocean Providence was. There was also the Maritime Vocational School, which was basically a school that had trained young people who couldn't see a future inside their city, but, actually help those young people, grasp this dream, grasp this future that they could have by joining the Maritime Vocational School and learning about the industry. And then there was also ocean leadership training, for members, for leaders, that True Father really invested in many, many times. So Jersey City at the time was, the city with a lot of poverty and crime, right? As I mentioned before, and about 400 churches existed there at the time, right? Pastors and educators struggled to protect young people from the drugs and the gangs that were there on a daily basis. And when Ocean Church had launched the fishing club that was meant for these pastors and these congregations, many well-known pastors were super happy, were enthusiastic, because they were seeking this healthy environment for their children, for their families to get active and to bond, right? So they jumped on this opportunity when they saw what Ocean Church was doing, right? So the leading member of the fishing club was Reverend John H. Reynolds, who in this photo is speaking inside the Marine Center from Mount Olive Church, which was a mega church with 1,800 people, with 1,800 congregation. So this is a photo of, some of the kids in one of the churches that went fishing. As you can see, they're really happy, right? Jersey City was a place where there were a lot of crimes, right? There were a lot of drugs going around. So, it's such a good opportunity for these Christian pastors, these Christian families to really bring these children to do a healthy activity together and bond, centered on, God, right? In 2001, they held a fishing tournament for Jersey City churches competing with each other. So it was, each church was their own team. As you can see, many happy faces. I think this is the winning team, and they got a lot of, I think, fish. I think it's fish that's in those boxes, but yeah, that lady looks really happy. And this is a photo of some of the members and the guests in front of the Statue of Liberty. And they not only did like fishing, like actual fishing, but they also had, similar to ACLC events right now, but they also had breakfasts where they would invite these ministers and these congregation members to, learn deeply, to talk about, God, right, over breakfast. Eventually, 120 established Jersey City ministers joined the fishing club. And this photo is basically, showing the fishing club pastors presenting true parents with a photo of, the ministers fishing club boat with a list of all the members' names. And, true father, true mother, they were both really happy to see this because, it really kind of proved how, through utilizing the boat, through utilizing fishing, right? The Ocean Church was really able to gather these groups of Christian ministers and really outreach to them and really bring them together. This is a photo of Bishop Henry D. Mays and his wife, wife of the Sinai Full Gospel Church in Jersey City, where they actually hosted a holy wine ceremony for the whole congregation on top of a ferry boat in New York Bay. So they actually did the ceremony on a boat, right? So this is a photo of that happening, right? It's a beautiful scene. Yeah, this is a photo of the ACLC meeting centered on True Parents, which was attended by Pastor McReynolds and his wife and others from Jersey City. Along with all that, Ocean Church also hosted ocean festivals, right? They cleaned it. So as you can see in the photo, right, the title is "The Ocean Feeds the World." So it wasn't just like an ocean festival where it's just like fish or water or something. It was really like they actually helped educate, along with all these different activities, help educate the community members about Ocean Church's cause, about Ocean Providence's cause, right? And along with that, they held many activities throughout the Ocean Festival, right? They cleaned up the dirty marina, invited the whole local community, including the mayor, pastors, and other community leaders. Children could learn about the ocean there, and they also declared the arrival of the ocean era and helped to revitalize the harbor and the marina. So with this community, with the whole community on their side, really, they could conduct, business safely, and the festival was an effective marketing for the marina and the restaurant. So they were also able to market, their other businesses through this activity, through this festival. So this is a photo. These are some photos of the actual festival. Here's some activities. I think they were catching eel or fish. You can see the happy faces. And I think they were also doing boat trips with the First Hope. And there was also live tuna cutting. This is a more close-up picture of the eel catching activity that the kids were having fun with. And this was also piñata, a fish-shaped piñata. This is a photo of the mayor at the time, Mayor Brett Schundler, who's in the yellow, who had attended the festival repeatedly, I think almost every year. And this photo was taken when he was meeting with Bishop Mays at one of those festivals. Not only that, but Ocean Church, along with all these different activities, also donated a boat for free, right? They donated the boat to the Jersey City Police Department to crack down on drug smuggling and other crimes in the harbor. So Ocean Church, as you can see, like just through this even, right, that they were really trying to contribute to the local community by helping the actual Coast Guard, by helping, get rid of all these issues, right? I think this boat had actually come out even in a movie one time, with the really epic scene of the boat splashing through. I don't remember what the name of the movie is. I think you can probably ask my mom later, but yeah, it's very cool. It's a legendary boat, this one. The Maritime Vocational School. So there was also, right, the Maritime Vocational School at Ocean Church. So it was basically officially licensed by the state of New Jersey as a school where youth who would otherwise have no future in, a city full of drugs and crime, where those youths who previously had no future could come and really learn skills such as boat mechanics and tackle manufacturing in order to actually build their own future from that. So it was, like, this school was really revolutionary for that area, for the young people in that area, because it gave, hope to those people. This is a photo of the open house. This is a nice photo as well. This is a photo of, hold on, sorry. This is also a photo of, this is where two parents, they also invited women of the Korean 43 couples from Korea to the Ocean Church's Marine Center to give talks. So I mentioned previously before, but True Parents really many times brought members to Ocean Church, even when maybe they were, closer to Belvedere, right? They would oftentimes go out of their way to go to Ocean Church and to bring members there as well, to invite members there to give them a talk. The Marine Center was also used for outreach activities, where they would do DP lecturing and witnessing, culture nights. They also held a lot of fishing tournaments. Now, this isn't exclusively in Liberty Harbor Marina, but these fishing tournaments were a big part of Ocean Church's activities in general, right? Fishing tournaments were held both in developed and developing nations around the world as the World Sports Fishing Federation, in order to promote fishing as both a sport, a hobby, and also a method to secure food resources. So fishing tournaments were also held for members, right? And were held annually. So it was basically, tournaments were basically a method to educate the public as well as the members and train members to, help further Ocean Providence. True Father instructed to invite members from around the world to hold ocean leadership workshops as well. So he held a lot of workshops, not just workshops, but leadership workshops at Liberty Harbor Marina with ocean training. So I don't know how many of you guys have actually been to Yosu or know about Yosu much, but there are, these famous workshops held in Yosu that are related to fishing activities. But these workshops that were held in Yosu since 2004 had actually originated from workshops that were first held in Jersey City. So you can see Kageyama-san teaching some people about I think making rods. Now, these trainings, these activities, these workshops were held, with this hope that True Father had for members from around the world to spread Ocean Providence globally. This is some of the members with all their catch. True Father often gathered local members to Ocean Church and urged them to get active in Ocean Providence. He really was trying to advocate for Ocean Providence by even bringing them to Ocean Church, by going out of his way to invite them there, by going out of his way to go there himself almost every day when he was in the area. These are members who gathered at the boat showroom when True Father was speaking one time. As you can see, True Father looks really happy. Yeah. So through all this social recognition, that Ocean Church garnered, their businesses were basically able to grow. And through those businesses, they kept gaining that social recognition. It was kind of like a cycle, right? So by cleaning up the marina, using the boats for the community through fishing clubs, tournaments, hosting an ocean festival centered on the restaurant, right? Tackle shop and seafood restaurant became popular locally. And all of this helped to raise funds to develop boats, right? And by donating a boat for the police to help them combat drug smuggling and contributing to society in partnership with the local government, Ocean Church was basically able to connect to many of the local leadership, like the mayor and the notable pastors, as well as the Coast Guard. And young people were educated at the Maritime Vocational School, where families and politicians were invited to the Ocean Festival, where people were repeatedly told the importance of preparing for this ocean era and its connection to solving world hunger. So in this way, we can say that New Jersey Ocean Church, at that time was really this place that consistently integrated, the act of socially contributing to their local community, as well as growing their business and outreaching throughout the community. So business and outreach was developing thanks to this social contribution. And True Father had always tried to convince leaders and members through Liberty Harbor Marina to advocate for Ocean Providence, the importance of Ocean Providence, of Ocean Church. Your True Father says in God's Will in the Ocean, I knew that, so I pioneered and developed every aspect by myself. Then I had to convince the members. So True Father basically invited Ocean Church church leadership and members to Ocean Church in Jersey City and tried to convince them to understand what he was doing by showing them what was going on there. He held fishing tournaments for members to educate and train them. He brought church leadership from Korea, Japan, and all over the world. He also held many ocean leadership workshops for the members there to really try to teach them, try to train them to get in their heads, right, that Ocean Providence is important, that Ocean Providence was something that needed to be done. So that's about the Liberty Harbor Marina Ocean Church, right? And it was really, I think, one of the actual successful ocean churches that were established, right, that under True Father. And it's amazing that what they were able to do. So from Ocean Church so now I want to talk about the ocean hobby industry base. So from Ocean Church, their True Father wanted Ocean Church to expand to not just Ocean Church, but really this establishment of an ocean hobby industry base. And we're going to be talking about what exactly that ocean hobby industry base means. Note, though, that this phrase, ocean hobby industry base, is also known as ocean hobby tourism industry base, but we're going to be calling it ocean hobby industry base just to shorten the term for now, right? So on top of the small but precious foundation that the Liberty Harbor Marina Ocean Church had been able to establish, right? True Father visited the Liberty Harbor Marina Ocean Church and gave them this order to build the 12 pillars of ocean hobby industry base. And this was 9 a.m. on November 27th, 2003. So he wanted this 12 pillars of ocean hobby industry base to be built and established across the world in front of the gathered. So he said this in front of the gathered church and the members and the leadership. But what is this ocean hobby industry base that True Father's talking about that he wants to be established? Well, the form that Ocean Church should aim for was basically ocean hobby industry base. So ocean hobby industry base was basically this final, absolutely evolved form of Ocean Church, right? So what exactly would that look like? What's the form? What's kind of like the base, right? What are the functions? Especially within Ocean Providence, right? What's the economic thought behind it, right? Because it is centered on business and industry. Is it capitalism? Is it socialism? And also, what's the lifestyle? What kind of environment was meant to be in these bases? So we're going to be looking at these 4 points to explain this concept of ocean hobby industry base that True Father wanted established. So the form of ocean hobby industry base had 12 pillars, right? And these 12 pillars is 1 is Ocean Church, 2 Marine School, fishing tournament, tackle fishing gear manufacturing sales, boat manufacturing and sales, fish farming and fry hatching, fish distribution industry, seafood restaurant, shipping, tourism industry and sports, marine resource development, ocean lifestyle culture information industry, and Ocean Providence Fund and Bank. So that's a lot, but there's 12 of them that he wanted to be established at every one of these bases. So this is a conceptual drawing of the ocean hobby industry base that True Father himself had actually, I think, had a hand in designing, right? And you can see there are many, it's not just like one church, one area. It's really this whole entire city. It's like a whole city, right? It's a base. So it's basically this place where these 12 pillars of ocean hobby industry, gather and culminate in one place. So that includes all these things like boat fishing related businesses, marine tourism industry, farming industry, marine university, right? 5-family condominiums, and many more, right? It's the center of oceanic lifestyle and this culture that true parents themselves have pioneered. So ocean hobby industry bases that would be established throughout the world would be connected via international superhighways and marine transportation networks, distributing the world's food and resources with altruistic ideology, regardless of race, religion, or nationality, in order to solve the problem of hunger permanently. So what does that mean? That basically means that these bases that were meant to be, not in just one place, but throughout the whole entire world, in every coastal city, every coastal location, it was meant to become this network where there's this ocean hobby industry base, this ocean lifestyle, where centered on this altruistic ideology, centered based on God, in order to help resolve the problem of hunger permanently. So with Ocean Church as the center, right, these 12 pillars of businesses and activities would develop and become this ocean hobby industry base. However, what role does this base play in the overall plan of the Ocean Providence? What's the specific role it had? Since the ultimate specific goal of the Ocean Providence is to solve the hunger problem, how was Ocean Hobby Industry Base related to that? How would it have helped become a part of a solution to this problem? So the Ocean Hobby Industry Base's function was basically to become a hub for distribution. So basically, right, as was said in the previous presentations, right, the reason the hunger problem persists and continues to be a problem lies not in the food production and the amount of resources we have, but really in the food distribution. Enough food exists, but they are not being distributed, right? True Father was making an investment plan step by step in order to distribute the world's surplus food and resources to the places that actually need it, to the people who are actually in poverty and starving. So this part will be discussed more in detail in the next episode, but True Father's plan was basically essentially to build a global distribution network through through the transportation industry, superhighways, right, these sales networks, and basically connect these different ocean hobby industry bases that are throughout the world in different coastal areas and that were established, right, and bring this permanent solution to the world hunger issue. So food would constantly be transported from base to base throughout the whole entire world. And these bases would be distributing this food to their own area while also transporting and sending food to other bases where those bases can also distribute in their area. So essentially it's this constant eternal network of bases where people are working to actually solve world hunger, where people are actually working to give food, to distribute food to the people who need it. So the basic idea, right, as I was saying, right, is the bases positioned in these developed nations are to collect surplus food, and then these bases in developing nations would distribute these surplus foods. So in other words, ocean hobby industry bases were basically this part of a practical method to live for the sake of the world. Now, I want to talk about this concept of giving food is giving love. Right, True Father's autobiography starts, the very first chapter is named "Food is Love," and he writes, "To me, giving people food is the most precious work." So ocean hobby industry bases serve, as a place to distribute food across the world. And feeding people is really an act of love, right? So we can say that the ocean hobby industry base was the substantial method in which true parents had planned to deliver their love, deliver the food, but really their love to all of humanity throughout the world. The ocean hobby industry base consisted, of those 12 pillars that we mentioned. And when expanded globally, right, to every, coastal location, each base becomes this hub of a global food and resource distribution network. And through that, it'll lead to becoming a persistent solution to the world's hunger problem. However, no matter how wonderful the external system is, we have to also understand we also have to have a good philosophy, right? Because if the philosophy is not the right one, it will be abused by selfishness and corruption, just like how we've seen throughout this whole world, right? That's why there's so much corruption. It's because of the basic philosophy behind all these different organizations. So under what principles, under what philosophy should this base be operated? So the ocean hobby industry base's economic system was supposed to be centered on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. And I'm sure you guys have heard these three terms before because it's inside the divine principle. True Father explains in the divine principle, democracies of two types arose with the purpose of dismantling absolute monarchy and transferring sovereignty to the people. Likewise, movements to further the ideals of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values arose on God's side, while communism was born on Satan's side. In order to demolish economic systems which concentrated a society's wealth in the hands of a privileged few.
Hello, Library West. This is a reminder that masks are welcome in the university buildings for your safety.
Each of these movements has sought to establish a system which would distribute wealth more equally among people. The aspirations to socialism on both sides have arisen in their providential striving to realize a society based on a truly democratic economic system. So according to the divine principle, right, it states that the ultimate and the ideal economic system, that God and that true parents want for this world is the system of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values, which would it's basically this idea of distributing equally the world's economy and resources. So we're going to be talking about capitalism and communism and why the capitalism or imperialism in communism has failed in the past. Right, so the ideal and the goal of an economic system is to basically create an economic system with no disparity while maximizing productivity. So capitalism runs on this motive to maximizing individual wealth and results in amazing productivity, but it is unable to solve this disparity. In addition, overproduction accelerates environmental destruction. On the other hand, communism criticizes capitalism and set its goals as economic equalization and to eliminate disparity. However, it's failed because by depriving people of their freedom, it deprives people of also their motivation. So because of that, it fails to secure productivity. So capitalism and communism are basically on two sides, right? And capitalism focuses more on productivity, but because of that, there's disparity. And communism instead focuses on equalizing, right, to eliminate this disparity. But because of that, they eliminate motivation, which in turn eliminates actual productivity. So that's the reason why these two don't fully 100% work. There is no balance between the two. So what true parents are basically trying to establish is a whole entire new economic thought, right? According to Chun Sung-yeon Book 10, True Father says, Godism is not about living for the sake of oneself. It teaches giving for the sake of others. In short, it is a path whereby one puts others before oneself. The devil's ideology tells you to live for yourself, whereas God's ideology asks you to live for others. That is why the more you give and then give again, the more your positions will pile up in the next world of eternity. In the communist world, the more one gives, the more one loses, and so no one works for others. In God's world, on the other hand, this is not the case, and so everyone works night and day without rest, shedding blood and sweat for the benefit of everyone else. Those who consistently give in the same manner as God are bound to be blessed. So basically what this is saying is that, communism, pursues equality, but it does not pursue productivity, right? As it's saying in this, right? It says the communist world, the more one gives, the more one loses. So of course, right, no one will, logically want to continue giving or, working properly if they're just going to continue losing. And instead capitalism, right, they're productive, but they're unable to resolve inequality because they're selfish, because they work, because they want to continue gaining for themselves and not for others. But what God wants, right, what True Father is basically saying is needed, right, interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values is basically this idea of voluntarily living for the sake of others. So you're productive because you love the other person, you love the people around you, so you work for them day and night, but those people are also doing the same for you. So there is no such thing as inequality. Everyone is productive, and therefore it resolves these issues that's found in capitalism and communism. So how can inequality be resolved, right? True Father says that the issues that remain to be resolved during this century are the cultural gap between the East and the West, and the gap between the haves and have-nots in the North and the South. How can they be resolved? It is through my teaching of living for the sake of others. The philosophy of living for your own sake belongs to the fallen world. The philosophy of living for the sake of others belongs to the heavenly world. Wealthy North America should live for the sake of its younger sibling in Latin America. North America should willingly sell its assets to help its younger sibling prosper. Only after North America helps Latin America to prosper at least as much as it does, if not more, should it invest for its own people. That is how both North America and South America will become places where God's ideal will eternally reside. So Ocean Hobby Industry Base was basically supposed to become a physical realization of the interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. So interdependence, mutual prosperity, universally shared values, unlike communism, does not force equalization through the governing body, but is an economic system in which the people themselves willingly help those in need that lead automatically to equalization. So the global function of the Ocean Hobby Industry Base was basically to become, to equally distribute food and resources around the world willingly. In other words, Ocean Hobby Industry Base can be said to be the practical realization of this ideal economic system of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. So then what kind of lifestyle would these people who are living in this kind of base, in this kind of city, who establish and operate such economic system, what kind of lifestyle should they be living? The lifestyle would be a hobby lifestyle. So within the economic system of the interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values, its members live a hobby lifestyle, which is centered around living for the sake of others. And a hobby lifestyle means you do what you love, right? You're productive because you're doing something that you love. And that love is centered on living for the sake of others. So you are living for the sake of others because you love those people and you are productive in doing so. Through this, productivity inherent in human beings can be brought out. And that's because through that hobby lifestyle, people can live for the sake of others with joy and maximize that productivity, right? And that, that's what is needed, right? And this hobby lifestyle is really the path to God's world. True Father says about the hobby lifestyle, a life of leisure. This is the kind of life that God likes. Your hobbies are connected to the creation. So many different hobbies are waiting for me. I never get exhausted. By enjoying one hobby after another, I automatically come closer to God's world. This is the best life that men can hope for. So hobby lifestyle is one that basically maximizes productivity without you getting tired, reluctant, right? As one carries out productive activities with joy. This is how the system of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values can surpass the productivity of the capitalist system. In this way, we can create the original intended world of creation through a hobby lifestyle that essentially everyone on the inside really does desire. So then what kind of family is one that enjoys living for the sake of others? What kind of family lives for the sake of others, as an act of, as a hobby, right? So what are the kind of people who are that sacrifice themselves and live for the sake of others as a hobby? Actually, the Moon family, right, described in True Father's autobiography, was one such family. True Father says, my paternal great-grandfather worked the farm himself, produced thousands of bushels of rice and built the family fortune with his own hands. He never smoked or drank liquor, preferring instead to use that money to buy food to give to those in need. When he died, his last words were, "If you feed people from all the regions of Korea, then you will receive blessings from all those regions." So you can see that his great-grandfather, preferred, right? He willingly wanted to help these people and give that money and food to the people in need. Truefather also says in his autobiography, "By the time I was born and was growing up, much of the wealth that my great-grandfather had accumulated was gone, and our family had just enough to get by. The family tradition of feeding others was still alive. However, we would feed others even if it meant there wouldn't be enough to feed our family members. The first thing I learned after I learned to walk was how to serve food to others." So Truefather really grew up in this family where the tradition of feeding others wasn't a forced tradition. It was this tradition based on willingness of love, right? And his family really genuinely loved and enjoyed giving and feeding other people in their village, even to the point where they were, they didn't even have enough to feed their own family members sometimes. Right? If families like the Moon Clan, gathered together and were happy to live for the sake of others, even at the cost of their sacrifice, that would establish this interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. Right? A group of families that are willing and happy to achieve an equalization can create this ideal economic system. So that group of families is what we need. Childhood father, had this hobby, right? This game, and that hobby was to live for the sake of others. Right? Truefather grew up where they were willing, where his family was willingly and happily, bringing equalization to others. And in his autobiography, he describes, what kind of child he grew up as inside such a family. Right? He says, "I was excited to think how good it would feel to give those people enough food so they could eat as much as they want. Perhaps because I was born into such a family, I too have spent much of my life feeding people. And to me, giving people food is the most precious work. In any village, it is natural that there are people who live well and those who don't. When I would see a child who had brought boiled millet to school for lunch, I couldn't eat my own better lunch of rice, so I would exchange my rice for his millet. I felt closer to the children from poor families than to those from rich families, and I wanted somehow to see to it that they didn't go hungry. This was a kind of game that I enjoyed most of all." So in this way, right, Truefather, throughout all these passages, Truefather is basically showing how happy he is, right, how enjoyable it is to live for the sake of others and to feed the other people who are hungry, to help the children, and, he really considered it, a game, as in, something fun, some kind of hobby, right? This truly is the hobby of living for the sake of others, this culture, right? That original intended human beings should really engage in. So the method to realize the interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values, right, is basically through Godism, right? This concept of love for all of humanity, the life of living for others, to produce this hobby lifestyle. And that's kind of like the universally shared values centered on God, right? And then centered on Godism, right? We are to pursue socialism, which is equality, which is interdependence, where everybody depends on one another and really lives, depending on one another, interdependent, and gaining equality through that, and also becoming better than capitalist productivity, by really living for the sake of others and raising each other up while also yourself being raised up with them as well. So this is this concept of mutual prosperity. So this would become, a world where human beings live and prosper together as one family under God. The principles of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values can be realized through individuals and families who learned to live for the sake of others, living this hobby lifestyle, where living for the sake of others and the world is their hobby. The ocean hobby industry base is a place where we should actualize such originally intended hobby lifestyle. Now, this is a review from part 1, section 3, but the Ocean Providence is basically this providence to restore the hobby lifestyle, which was intended by God before the fall, right? Before the fall, right, in the Garden of Eden, right? Adam and Eve lived a hobby lifestyle where they were provided for, right? Nature, they lived in harmony with nature, with creation, with God, with the spirit world, and they were provided for naturally. They didn't have to worry about getting food on their table. They were living happily, enjoying anything, right? But then once they fell, the fall caused basically inherent environmental and food issues for humanity, right? God told Adam, because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. So that means, right, after the fall, because of the fall, the ground became cursed, right? Adam and Eve no longer could eat leisurely, could live a life of leisure. They had to work, they had to worry in order to even just get food on the table. So that caused the food problem, that caused them to enter not a hobby lifestyle, but a slave lifestyle. And Ocean Providence was basically the province to return humanity to the hobby lifestyle before the fall. And they would do that by, developing hobby lifestyle as originally intended by God. So this is a summary of basically the ocean hobby industry base, the forms and the functions of it. So the form of each individual base was basically to fulfill the 12 pillars, such as ocean church, fishery, transportation businesses, basically become this base, this center, this hub of all these 12 pillars. And then the function within the whole global ocean providence was to become a hub connecting global food and resource distribution networks to persistently solve the hunger problem forevermore, right? And the economic system of the base, just as water levels automatically, all people are would joyfully help those in need naturally, right? So it's this concept of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. That was to be the economic system of these bases. And the lifestyle of the families that live in these bases were to be a lifestyle of living for the sake of others, engaging in a hobby lifestyle, centering on the water and ocean, connecting to the suffering of the world, transcending these barriers of race, culture, borders, and religion, and really living a life trying to help the world and the people to live like a family under God. So that was a lot, but this is a summary of basically part 2, section 2, parts 1 and 2. So this is today's, including last episodes as well. So the Ocean Church, which was started in North America, was a revolutionary boat-based church that integrated the functions of social contribution, business, and outreach. Ocean Church was meant to be globalized, as this model throughout the whole entire world. And in order for the leaders of the new era trained in Ocean Church to bring resolution to the global hunger problem, the ocean churches were to be globalized. The ocean hobby industry bases are to be established throughout the world, centering on the Ocean Church, and establish a global food resource distribution network among those bases throughout the world, and distribute food resources as well as technology going beyond the barriers of race, religions, and country, and resolve the hunger problem permanently to establish an economic system centered on interdependence, mutual prosperity, universally shared values, and establish the originally intended lifestyle of hobby lifestyle to live for the sake of others. And these are the vast vision. This is really the vast vision that True Father had intended to realize through Ocean Church, right? Starting from Ocean Church. So in the next episode, we'll be discussing, more comprehensively the practical and the actual concrete plan that True Father had to establish this food resource distribution network. Right? We talked about the actual bases. Now we're going to be talking about how True Father had planned to actually connect these bases, how he planned to actually distribute food and create that network. Thank you for listening.